a decorated Army colonel, a fallen soldier's remains, and a flight he was denied. What happened next shook the entire nation. The airport was buzzing with the usual chaos. Families hauling suitcases, business travelers buried in their phones, kids darting through the crowd. Colonel Michael Evans stepped into the terminal, his polished boots clicking on the floor. He'd been through this routine countless times, but today felt heavier. It wasn't just the medals pinned to his uniform. It was the casket waiting outside, draped in the American flag. Private First Class Ethan Parker, just 22 years old, gone too soon. Colonel Evans adjusted his cap and steadied himself. His duty went beyond rank or recognition. It was about a promise to every soldier who never made it home. No one gets left behind. He approached the airline counter, setting down his military orders and ID. The woman behind the desk barely looked up, typing with a frown. Then she paused, her eyes lingering on the papers a moment too long. "Sir, can I see that again?" Her voice was clipped. Evans handed over the documents, watching her closely. The slight hesitation, the glance at her coworker, the subtle shift in her stance, like she'd stumbled into something she wasn't ready for. She whispered to another agent who shot an unreadable look his way. The moment stretched, heavy with something Evans recognized but never got used to. When she returned, her smile was forced. "I'm sorry, sir. There's an issue with your ticket. We can't let you board." Evans exhaled slowly. He'd faced combat zones, tense negotiations, and high-stakes missions, but this was different. "I'm escorting a fallen soldier's remains," he said calmly, pointing to the paperwork. "Everything's in order." The agent avoided his gaze. "I understand, sir, but it's a security protocol. We can't override it." "Security protocol?" Evans kept his voice even. "What protocol?" The line behind him was growing restless, people murmuring, staring. He stood firm, shoulders squared, refusing to step aside. The airline staff didn't budge either. The air thickened, conversations quieting as people noticed a uniformed colonel being denied his flight. A rare sight. "Ma'am," Evans said steadily, "I need to know the issue." "This is a military assignment, not a personal trip. My documentation is valid." The agent hesitated, glancing at her coworkers, now huddled and whispering. A supervisor, a man in his late 50s with a weary expression, stepped forward, adjusting his name tag. "Sir, I apologize for the inconvenience," he said in that polished tone meant to end questions. "But we have policies we can't override." Policies. Evans had heard that excuse before. "I've escorted remains before," he said, his discipline holding back his frustration. "I know the procedure, like there's no policy stopping me. What's the real reason?" The supervisor shifted uncomfortably. "It's just an extra security measure, sir. Nothing personal." Nothing personal. Evans clenched his jaw but stayed composed. He'd seen people hide behind vague excuses like this, testing his patience, waiting for him to snap. He wouldn't give them that. The crowd was watching now. A woman in a blue coat whispered to her companion. A young man with a boarding pass frowned, trying to piece it together. Then a voice broke through. "Is there an issue with his military clearance?" Evans glanced back. An older man, maybe late 60s, wearing a Navy veteran cap, stood a few spots back in line. The supervisor looked uneasy. "No, sir, it's just standard protocol." The veteran scoffed. "I've been through security countless times, and I've never seen protocol stop a soldier from escorting one of our own home." "What's really going on?" Murmurs spread. People pulled out phones recording. The mood shifted, the staff sensing it. The agent who'd denied Evans glanced nervously at her supervisor. The supervisor sighed, rubbing his forehead. "Let me check something," he muttered, walking off. The agent avoided eye contact, suddenly engrossed in her screen. Evans stood tall, unmoving, staring ahead. The terminal's hum turned focused, charged. People weren't just waiting for flights anymore. They were watching, recording. The Navy veteran wasn't the only one upset. A woman in a green jacket muttered, "This isn't right." A younger man in a cap typed furiously on his phone. The attention was growing, and it was trouble for the airline. Then another voice spoke up. "Excuse me, sir." A young woman, maybe 23, stood nearby, phone in hand, eyes determined but hesitant. "I don't mean to interrupt, but they're not letting you board?" Her voice was soft but clear, drawing more eyes. Evans nodded. "That's correct." She blinked, then turned her phone toward him. "I'm live right now. People need to see this." And just like that, the moment exploded. A man raised his phone. "This is wrong. He's escorting a fallen soldier." A woman further back called out, "Can someone explain why he's being denied?" The crowd stirred. The agent behind the counter froze, hands hovering over her keyboard, eyes darting to the phones now pointed at her. The Navy veteran stepped forward, his voice firm. "I've seen a lot in my time, but I never thought I'd see an American soldier escorting a brother in arms treated like this." The terminal went quiet, the usual airport noise fading. Phones captured every second. The veteran squared his shoulders. "This is a disgrace." The agent's hands trembled as she typed. The supervisor was still gone. Passengers whispered. A baby fussed, but its mother was too busy staring at her phone, disgust on her face. Someone in the back muttered, "It's already trending." Evans stayed calm, taking in every detail. The supervisor wasn't back, meaning he was either stalling or scrambling. Neither would work. The young man in the cap whistled. "This is everywhere now." The agent stiffened. She knew it too. The woman in the green jacket gasped, whispering to her husband, "It's on Instagram." The Navy veteran grunted, checking his phone. They don't know the storm they started. Then the loudspeaker crackled. "Attention, passengers. Flight 419 to Denver is delayed due to unforeseen circumstances. We apologize for any inconvenience." Groans rippled, but most eyes stayed on Evans. The soldier refused his flight while on duty. A young woman by the windows gasped, "He's on X." She showed her screen and people leaned in. A post in bold letters read, "They just denied a U.S. Army colonel his flight while escorting a fallen soldier's remains. This is how we treat our heroes? Let him fly." The numbers climbed. Reposts, comments, likes. Another post appeared from a veterans group. "We're aware of the shameful incident at this airport. Our soldiers deserve better. Expect action." The crowd murmured. The reality sinking in. The airline had lost control. The agent, still frozen, exhaled shakily and hurried to the back, disappearing behind a glass door. She wasn't returning with answers. She was running for damage control. Evans adjusted his cap. He'd seen this before in different forms, people realizing they'd picked the wrong fight. This wasn't about him. It was about Private First Class Ethan Parker, waiting to go home. The crowd wasn't just watching now, they were waiting. The terminal felt electric. The supervisor returned, flanked by a man in a sharp gray suit, his airline ID clipped to his pocket. His walk was brisk, like someone used to fixing problems. He scanned the scene, Evans, the veteran, the phones still recording. Clearing his throat, he said, "Colonel, I apologize for the miscommunication. There was an error in our system, but we're working to get you on your flight." Miscommunication? Evans knew what that meant. They got caught. He let the silence hang, watching the man shift uncomfortably. "An error, you said?" The man nodded quickly. "Yes, sir, a regrettable mistake. Not intentional. We'd like to escort you to the gate now. First-class accommodations, of course." First class, like that was the issue. Evans looked past him to the agent who denied him, the one who hadn't bothered to check his papers properly. "I appreciate the urgency," he said evenly. "But if no one recorded this, if no one spoke up, Would I still be standing here? Silence. The man swallowed. Sir, we... Evans cut him off. You don't need to answer. Everyone knew. A woman in the crowd murmured, He's right. The man tried again. Sir, we sincerely apologize. This isn't about apologies, Evans interrupted. It's about accountability. The crowd nodded, their anger now mixed with disappointment. The man straightened, trying to regain control. Colonel, let's get you on your flight. Before Evans could respond, a security officer appeared holding a phone toward the airline rep. You should see this. The rep scrolled, his face paling. The veteran smirked. Something wrong? The rep didn't answer, but Evans knew. The backlash had gone beyond the airport. A news outlet had the story. U.S. Army colonel denied flight while escorting fallen soldier. Below, a video clip from the terminal played. The rep handed the phone back, turning to Evans. We deeply regret this, he said, his voice thin. We'd like to issue a public statement. Evans cut him off. The public already knows the truth. Silence. The rep pressed his lips together. Evans looked at the crowd, the phone still recording, then back at the rep. I don't need first class or special treatment. I need respect for me and the soldier I'm escorting. The crowd murmured in agreement. The rep nodded stiffly. The veteran grunted in approval. Evans adjusted his cap. Now let's finish this mission. But the airline's troubles were just starting. A new figure entered, a man in a crisp military uniform, his posture radiating authority. The crowd parted as he approached. Colonel, he said firmly, extending his hand. Major Daniel Hayes, Department of the Army. We've been informed. Evans shook his hand. No questions needed. The military moves fast for its own. Hayes turned to the rep, his voice sharp. We're handling this now. Colonel Evans and Private First Class Parker's remains won't fly commercial. The Pentagon has arranged a private military flight. Transport is waiting. The crowd buzzed. The rep blinked. Sir, You were just covering your tracks, Hayes interrupted, polite but firm. He looked at Evans. Sir, your transport is ready. Evans nodded. Understood. Hayes glanced at the representative. This will be addressed. No threat, just a fact. Evans turned to the Navy veteran. Appreciate you, brother. The veteran tipped his cap. We look out for our own. Evans gave the crowd a final glance, the people who spoke up, who recorded, who refused to let this slide. He walked out, not to the gate, but to something bigger. The airline thought they could contain it with apologies, a press release, maybe a CEO statement. They were wrong. The public didn't let go. News networks ran the story. Veterans groups condemned the airline. Politicians demanded accountability. By week's end, the airline's stock dipped, a boycott hashtag trended, and customers flooded their social media. Then came the lawsuit. Military advocacy groups filed a complaint for discrimination and failure to honor service member protections. The airline's CEO made a public appearance, calling it a regrettable misunderstanding and announcing the employees involved were on leave. Too little, too late. Meanwhile, Colonel Evans completed his mission. He escorted Private First Class Ethan Parker home, standing by as the young soldier's family received him one last time. Evans didn't need headlines or attention. He needed respect, and that was the real fight. Respect shouldn't need a viral video or public outrage. It should be the standard. The people in that airport, the veteran, the passengers who spoke up, the ones who refused to stay silent, proved something. When people stand together, injustice has nowhere to hide. If you believe in accountability and honoring those who serve, let your voice be heard. Silence lets this happen again, and next time it might not go viral.